Lascan. Well, Minister, of course, I put this question here earlier on to the Taoiseach, and he referred it to you. This is about the appointment of our next EU Commissioner. And of course, we've heard that the current Commissioner, our former colleague, former Deputy Hogan, he's indicated that he's positively disposed to another 5-year term, as of course he would be. But I just wonder, what about the role of this House in the appointment? For example, is it a matter for the confidence and supply agreement with your Fianna Fáil colleagues in this kind of coalition government, or is it not such a fundamental choice in relation to, for example, agriculture, in relation to financial matters in the post-Brexit era, that this House should be intimately involved? Thanks, Can.
The nomination of the Irish Commissioner to serve as a member of the next College of Commissioners will be taken by the Taoiseach and the Government in due course, as it has been in the past. Following the election by the European Parliament of the new Commission President, which would be expected to take place in July, I would expect the new President to begin working with Member States who will designate Commission nominees from their countries. I expect this process of consultation will take place in the succeeding weeks in July and August, in order for the new President to build up a team and for all the Commissioners designate to attend hearings in the European Parliament in September/October, prior to the Parliament's own vote on consent. So what happens is that governments suggest names, they become Commissioners designate, and then they have to go through a hearing system in the European Parliament, which is something I've taken part in myself as a member of the European Parliament, which is a fairly robust questioning process. And then the Parliament then decides whether they approve the College of Commissioners as proposed or not. That's the way it will work. I'm not aware of anything in the confidence and supply arrangement that is linked to the selection of Ireland's next European Commissioner.
That the next 5-year period will be kind of critical for this country and for our representative on the 28 or the 27 person, is it now, Commission, particularly obviously in relation to the current portfolio that Commissioner Hogan has in agriculture, but also in relation to finance, where we're facing action from France and Germany in relation to the unanimity rule in relation to the Ireland's powers of taxation. I mean, so is it critical, for example, that we should be considering somebody that has that kind of a background, in the financial area? Can I also ask, I mean, I think the gender breakdown of the Commission at the moment is over 2 to 1 male versus female. Is there not a huge case for us to appoint a female Commissioner this time round, from the many distinguished people in public life in this House and elsewhere, the many distinguished women who could fulfil this role very well? Is that not an opportunity for us to break new ground there? I just ask you finally, I mean, in relation to the presidency, I mean, would there not have been a strong case, given again the situation with the Brexit, with the British exit, would there not have been a very strong case for us to put forward a candidate for the presidency of the Commission, that we'd have an Irish president over the 5 years, given that it's such a difficult time for our country?
Yeah, well, you're right, Deputy, that that the next 5 years will be a crucial period for the EU and for Ireland's place in it. There's no question about that. Presumably in the aftermath of Brexit. Hopefully Brexit still won't be an ongoing debate in August and September and October. It could be, but hopefully not. But look, I mean, to be honest, I don't want to get above myself here. This is a call for the Taoiseach. He'll make a recommendation. He'll take into account, I think, a lot of the issues that you've raised. Ireland needs to select somebody who is able and who has the skill set to be able to do a really good job for Ireland in the Commission. And not just for Ireland, but to do a job for the Commission, because, of course, when you're in the College of Commissioners, you're representing the EU as a collective, not necessarily your country's place in the EU. So it is a serious decision. And the Taoiseach will need to weigh up all of those factors and recommend somebody who's appropriate for this job. But I'm very confident that he'll be able to do that.
Final supplementary.
I mean, there is great dissatisfaction. I think, again, possibly one of the reasons why a majority voted to leave in the UK in relation to the whole system, the whole element of democracy in the institutions, and particularly in the Commission. I mean, we saw the appointment of a Secretary General, of which there was no democratic control whatsoever. I mean, the Secretary General, the current Secretary General of the Commission, and I think dissatisfaction was expressed in this House and other parliaments and in the European parliaments in relation to that appointment. So isn't this an opportunity, Tánaiste, to have a more democratic process and indeed to involve this House? And it is surprising to think that you have this confidence and supply, this effective coalition with Fianna Fáil, but that the Fianna Fáil doesn't have any input into it, and the rest of this House doesn't seem to have any input into it. So again, I mean, it's a critical 5 years that we're going forward in. It's a very important decision. I think maybe the gender issue is one that we should consider very actively. There's been a lot of opinion in Europe that the Commission should be 50-50 between male and female, and that we could take an initiative in that regard from the many distinguished women in public life in this country. Thanks, Canon.
No, look, like I said, it's not my call, Deputy. Although I'll have an input, I'm sure, as a member of government, but this is ultimately the Taoiseach's judgment. But I would say that this is a democratic process. The government is democratically elected, represents Ireland's interests. Every day we make decisions on behalf of people, and we can be changed at election time as a government. So this is one of the decisions that the government will need to make. And we have a mandate from the people to make decisions on their behalf, in their interests, in lots of areas. And this is just another one of them.